Hey everybody, welcome to Take 5. Today I want to talk about the issue of sharing the report, sharing the final report of an investigation. Should we be doing that? I speak to a lot of different clients, a lot of different investigators, and there's a bit of a varying opinion on whether the full investigation report should be shared with the parties. And I personally am an advocate for not doing so. I believe that there are times where the full investigation report must be shared. For example, if we end up in some kind of a judicial proceeding, if we end up in an arbitration, something like that, then yes, disclosure rules will require reports to be shared with the other party. But, that's the rarer example of where these things end up. In most cases, they don't end up in arbitrations or court. And I feel that having the entire investigation report released really opens the door for problems. It opens the door for reprisal. I personally have had a case where the client insisted that the full investigation report be provided to the parties, and all of a sudden the investigation report ended up on the internet, it ended up on social media, it ended up in somebody's mailbox, and people saw confidential information that they really were not entitled to see. And that, to me, is a travesty for those who willingly and with good faith participated in an investigation, and then confidential information that they shared ended up in the hands of people that it shouldn't have. So we have to be really judicious about who we share the investigation report with. I think as an external investigator, we create a report, we submit it to the client. We also create a summary of that report that summarizes the findings. And that summary is what should be shared with the parties. They need to know what were the allegations that were investigated and what were the findings. What was the rationale for those findings? But they do not need to see all the individual pieces of evidence that were gathered and in that larger report. That's not going to benefit anybody, unless they're going to be arguing it, as I say, in some kind of a proceeding later. That's a different story. And, how do we properly notify people of the outcome of an investigation? I think it should be twofold. It should be put in writing, and they should have a meeting. They should be allowed to ask questions about, the investigation process itself. If they have any concerns about it, they should be able to voice those concerns, and they should be provided with a written document that outlines the findings. And that can simply be cut and pasted out of the full report. But the full report, not for their eyes. Now, some people would disagree with me on this, and we'll have to agree to disagree, but I just think that it's important that we think about the confidentiality side of this. We think about what can happen if these reports do end up in the wrong hands. There's no need for it. The people that are involved can be provided with all the information they need. And if they feel after getting that information that they're not satisfied, then they can pursue whatever options are available to them. And then ultimately those options may result in them seeing the full report. That's a different story. I'm not advocating here for anything that would be unfair, but I'm advocating for finding the balance in how we share information, who we share it with, how findings of investigations get disseminated to the parties. And I think that these are conversations that need to happen at the front end of the investigation, so there's no surprises later. People know how everything's going to roll out. There should be a policy within the organization that lays out how the organization will handle an investigation and what the steps will be and what the final products will be and what will be shared with people. These are all important aspects that can be handled through appropriate communication. So, don't release those full reports. Don't give them to everybody to see. Even the parties, even the complainant, respondent, or in case of federal matters, the principal party and responding party, don't share the full report with them. And I know I'm speaking against, what some organizations have in their policies and even what is arguably required in some cases. If it's required and it's something we have to do by virtue of legislation or by virtue of the policy, then of course we're going to do it. But, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think all that information needs to be shared with everybody, and I think it leads to problems and issues that can be even more challenging to deal with in the end. So that's my opinion. I'm sure there's others who disagree, and if you do disagree, then please comment. Tell me. I'd love to hear what you think. I think healthy discussion and debate about these kinds of issues will make us all better at what we do. So that's it for now, everybody. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on Take 5.